Imagine the continent's top football clubs, okay? From Canada right down to the Caribbean, all clashing for one coveted trophy and a direct path to global glory. That's the kind of electric energy around the 2025 CONCACAF Champions Cup right now. Today, we're not just, listing facts, we're really taking a deep dive into CONCACAF itself. We want to understand what it is, how its premier club competition actually works, and maybe most importantly, why it matters so much for the teams, the players across this whole incredibly diverse region.
Exactly. And we'll try to go beyond just the surface stuff. We'll unpack a bit of the history, the intricate format, the stakes involved, which are pretty exciting. Hopefully give you a really clear picture of how this tournament isn't just like a standalone thing, but a crucial piece in the bigger interconnected world of global football.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. Because we hear the name CONCACAF thrown around a lot, right?
Yeah.
Especially now with football gaining more traction across North America. But for someone really looking to get the continental game, what is CONCACAF exactly? Where does it fit in the, the global football family?
Yeah, good question. Great place to start. So CONCACAF stands for the Confederation of North, Central America, and Caribbean Association Football. Bit of a mouthful. But think of it basically as one of FIFA's 6 big continental governing bodies. It oversees football in this huge region. What's kind of unique geographically is that besides North America, Central America, the Caribbean, it also includes 3 South American nations.
Oh, really? Which ones?
Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. So that brings it to 41 member associations under one umbrella.
41. Wow.
Yeah. And it was founded way back in 1961, actually born from merging 2 older confederations. And their mission statement, Love for Our Game, kind of sums it up. They're aiming to develop, promote, manage football, ideally with integrity and passion across all those different members.
Okay, so it's this incredibly diverse, geographically sprawling confederation. And you mentioned it's one of 6. Could you quickly paint the picture? Where does CONCACAF sit alongside its peers?
Sure. So beyond CONCACAF, you've got UEFA for Europe, obviously, CONMEBOL for South America, then there's CF for Africa, AFC for Asia, and OFC for Oceania. And this whole global structure, it's really important because it creates a pathway, right? These regional competitions, like the Champions Cup we're talking about, they feed directly into the big global tournaments, like the FIFA Club World Cup.
Ah, right. The one every club wants to be in.
Exactly. That's the dream. And even within CONCACAF, you've got internal subregions that run their own qualifying tournaments, like the Central American Football Union, UNCAF, and the Caribbean Football Union, CFU. They're both pretty active in developing talent in their areas.
Okay. So with such a huge and varied landscape under its wing, you might wonder how CONCACAF actually brings all this talent together on the club stage. And I guess that's where the CONCACAF Champions Cup really comes into its own.
That's it.
This is the marquee competition, right? Pitting teams from, 10 different countries against each other?
10 countries, yeah.
And this 2025 edition, it's actually the 60th overall, but only the 2nd in its newer, expanded format.
Correct, yeah. A lot of fans will probably remember it as the CONCACAF Champions League. That ran from about 2008 to 2023. But the roots go way, way back. 1962, Chivas Guadalajara, the Mexican side, won the very first one.
And speaking of Mexican clubs, their dominance has been, pretty remarkable, hasn't it?
Yeah. Remarkable might be putting it mildly. Mexican clubs have won an astounding 39 of the 60 titles.
39.
Yeah, including 14 out of 15 during that Champions League era you mentioned. And Pachuca, another Mexican powerhouse, they kept the streak going, winning the first title under the new Champions Cup format in 2024. It's not just about, individual team strength. It reflects a really established pro league, Liga MX, and a strong youth development system, something other leagues in the region are definitely working towards.
Fascinating stuff. So how does a team actually qualify for a tournament like this? I know it brings champions together.
That's right. Teams earn their spot basically by winning titles, either in their domestic leagues like Liga MX or Major League Soccer, or by doing well in CONCACAF's own regional competitions. Things like the Leagues Cup, the Central American Cup, or the Caribbean Cup.
Okay.
So for 2025, for instance, you'll see Canadian teams like the Vancouver Whitecaps, Forge FC. They won the CPL's regular season shield, and Cavalry FC, who won the North Star Cup.
Gotcha.
And of course, you always get the big names involved. Inter Miami with Messi.
Of course.
MLS Cup champs, LA Galaxy, Mexican giants like Chivas, Club America, Monterrey. And interestingly, Columbus Crew SC is actually ranked #1 right now in the CONCACAF club rankings, which kind of shows maybe a rising tide of talent across the whole region.
That is a strong lineup. Okay, so With all these teams, really high stakes, how is the tournament actually structured? What's the format? And what about those crucial rules, the ones that can really make or break a team's run?
Right. Well, a key thing to get is the format. It's a 5-round knockout competition. That means the stakes are high right from the first whistle, basically. All the rounds, except for the final, are two-legged ties. Home and away,
Okay, standard knockout.
mostly. But out of the 27 teams taking part, 22 start in the first round, but 5 clubs get a bye straight into the round of 16.
How do they get that?
By winning specific competitions. So, for example, Columbus Crew got a bye because they won the Leagues Cup. Club America, Liga MX champions, LA Galaxy, MLS Cup winners, and there are others too from the Caribbean and Central American Cup.
Okay. Rewards for winning other trophies.
Exactly. And for that first round, the clubs are seeded into 2 pots. It's based on the CONCACAF club rankings, and the higher seeded club gets to host the second leg at home, which can be a big advantage.
Definitely. And the schedule, when does this all happen?
It's pretty packed. Round 1 kicks off in February. Then you've got the round of 16 in March, quarterfinals early April, semis late April, early May, leading all the way up to the single match final on June 1st.
June 1st. Got it. And what about those two-legged ties? If things are level after 180 minutes, what happens then?
Ah, yes. That's where the away goals rule comes in. It's the first tiebreaker for all the two-legged rounds.
The classic away goals rule. Add some spice.
It really does. Makes every away goal potentially massive.
Yeah.
But important note, that rule doesn't apply in the final itself.
Okay, so no away goals in the final.
Right. If the aggregate score and away goals are tied after the 2 legs in earlier rounds, then it goes straight to extra time. And during extra time, away goals no longer count. If it's still tied after extra time, penalties.
The dreaded shootout.
Yep. Also, players got to watch out for yellow cards. 2 yellows in different matches means a 1-match suspension.
Standard stuff.
Pretty standard, yeah. But to manage it, the cards get wiped clean twice during the tournament.
Oh, interesting. When?
Once after the first round and then again after the quarterfinals. Gives players a bit of a reset, you know.
Yeah, that's helpful.
And here's another interesting twist for the later rounds. Hosting rights for the final and for the second legs after the round of 16. It's not just about your initial seeding. It's actually earned based on how a club performs in the tournament itself.
Really? How does that work?
They track points for wins and draws, goal difference, goals scored, away goals scored, wins, away wins. Even your disciplinary record counts. Basically, it rewards consistency and ensures the teams playing best down the stretch get that crucial home advantage.
That is fascinating. Okay, so with all that structure and those rules in mind, what does it all mean for the clubs? Beyond just lifting that impressive trophy, why is this tournament such a massive deal for them and, for us, the fans watching?
Well, first off, yeah, there's the trophy itself. It's a pretty nice design they've used since 2018, definitely a mark of prestige. But the money, the financial incentive has shot up dramatically.
Oh, yeah. How much are we talking?
The winners get around $5 million now.
$5 million.
Yeah, which is like more than 5 times the prize money they used to get in the old Champions League format.
Wow, okay. That's a game changer for a lot of clubs, I'd imagine.
Huge game changer. And beyond the cash, the global qualification aspect is just paramount. The winners don't just qualify for the 2029 FIFA Club World Cup. The next 3 Champions Cup winners also get spots, so it ensures long-term representation for the region.
Right, building towards that expanded Club World Cup.
Exactly. And look at last year's winners, Pachuca. They're already drawn into a group with giants like Real Madrid, RB Salzburg, Al Hilal in the upcoming 2025 Club World Cup.
Facing Real Madrid, yeah, that's exposure.
Absolutely. And the 2025 Champions Cup winners also get a direct spot in the 2025 FIFA Intercontinental Cup. That's where they compete with other continental champions. Real Madrid actually won the first edition of that one, too.
Okay, so multiple pathways to global competition.
Yeah.
And connecting this back, you mentioned clubs outside the big leagues, like Liga MX and MLS. How transformative is this really for them? Does that $5 million prize money genuinely move the needle for, say, a smaller Caribbean club? Or is the benefit maybe more than just financial?
That's a really crucial distinction to make. Yes, the money helps, obviously, a lot. But for smaller clubs, including, say, the Canadian Premier League sides, just playing against the region's best on a high-profile stage, maybe against genuine stars, It's a vital stress test.
Right, testing themselves.
Totally. It forces them to professionalize more, maybe improve their facilities, scout talent differently. It's an unparalleled chance to test and showcase their own players at a level they just don't see week in, week out.
So huge exposure.
Huge exposure and growth opportunities that honestly go way beyond just winning a single match or even lifting the trophy. It helps raise the whole standard, the baseline of football, across the entire confederation.
Okay. Now, stepping back a bit from the Champions Cup itself, what other major tournaments does CONCACAF put on? And what are some of the unique challenges this confederation faces? I mean, it's trying to grow the game in a really diverse, complex region.
Yeah, they're definitely busy across the board. The Gold Cup is probably the most well-known. That's the main continental tournament for the men's senior national teams. It's held every 2 years since '91. Historically, it's been dominated by Mexico and the U.S., though Canada won it once, too.
Right. And they sometimes invite guest teams, don't they?
They have, yeah. Teams from South America, Asia, adds a different flavor.
Right.
Then there's also the Nations League, which is another international competition for the men's teams. And of course, CONCACAF runs all the World Cup qualifiers for the region. Plus, they have a big focus on women's football now.
Like the Women's Gold Cup.
Exactly. The Women's Gold Cup, the Women's Championship, and they're even launching a brand new Women's Champions Cup in 2024.
Okay, so a lot happening on the women's side, too. That's good to see. But every region has its issues, its hurdles. What are some of the biggest challenges CONCACAF is navigating? Especially given, the unique sporting landscape here in North America.
True. There have definitely been some significant challenges. Historically, governance and integrity were a massive issue. The whole 2015 FIFA corruption crisis. Several high-ranking CONCACAF officials were caught up in that.
Right, that was a dark period.
It really was. But to their credit, the Confederation seems to have made some real strides since then. They put in comprehensive reforms, focusing on accountability, transparency. Some reports say they've actually gone beyond FIFA's own recommendations in that area.
Okay, so addressing the past, what about present challenges?
Well, another huge one, especially in North America, is just the sheer popularity of other sports. American football, basketball, hockey. They command enormous audiences, massive media deals, huge sponsorships.
Yeah, it's a crowded market.
Extremely. I mean, think about it. The NFL's average attendance in 2022 was nearly 70,000 people per game. Wow.
Yeah. So football is constantly battling for eyeballs, for relevance, for young athletes' attention. It's like trying to grow a really nice flower in a forest full of giant redwood trees,
It's quite an image. But it makes sense. And what about the women's game specifically? We know it's growing globally, but what are the particular challenges within CONCACAF?
Yeah, for women's football, some specific obstacles are things like changing perceptions, getting governments, local communities to really buy in and support the women's game equally, and also just promoting strategies for sustainable growth across all the member nations, big and small. CONCACAF has actually put out a new strategy framework for this. It's based on 3 pillars, basically. Promoting the value of women's football, growing the sport by creating clear pathways for players and teams, and then finding commercial ways to make it self-sustaining. Interesting. It really does raise that important question then, doesn't it? How does CONCACAF juggle all these unique challenges, the diverse sporting landscape, the historical issues? How do they actually fulfill that mission of love for our game, for all their members, from, the U.S. and Mexico down to the smallest island associations? It's got to be a complex balancing act.
Well, hopefully you've now got a really fantastic overview of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Its history, that high-stakes format we talked about, and the whole rich football ecosystem it represents.
Yeah, in understanding these continental tournaments, it really gives you a much deeper appreciation, I think, for the whole journey, the path clubs and players take to try and reach the very top of global football. So what's maybe the final thought for you to mull over after this deep dive? Perhaps it's this. The biggest impact of the CONCACAF Champions Cup isn't just about crowning a continental champion each year. Maybe its real value lies in its role as this vital stepping stone. By continuously pushing the standard of play higher, by fostering that crucial competition and expanding development opportunities for clubs and players right across this incredibly diverse region, even for those teams that might not end up lifting the trophy. It's truly about building a bigger game, as they say, for everyone involved.